Readers Entertainment Radio presents Booklights with your host, author Lisa Kessler. Booklights, where we're shining a light on good books.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning into Booklights today. You are in for a treat, and it's a special treat for me because Jocie used to host the Readers Entertainment Radio podcast, which was like a sister to the Booklights podcast. So anyway, it's awesome to have her here. But if you haven't read Jocie yet, you are in for a treat because she has quite a backlist of cozy mysteries and all kinds of whimsical fun books for you to read. You can binge through. And she's got a new book out that we're going to talk about today. So if you have not had a chance to read her, I'll read her bio here so you can get to know her. Jocie is the author of over 20 novels and hundreds of articles. Her nonfiction writing has appeared in numerous national magazines and online blogs. She worked several jobs before landing her ideal one as a librarian, and we all champion librarians here on the podcast. A perfect segue to becoming an author. Her fiction writing has received awards for both her mystery and romantic comedy books. Writing humorous, cozy mysteries and romantic comedy, Jocie can find humor in almost every inappropriate thing. She lives in the Midwest on her dust bunny farm with her family and the world's calmest Border Collie, Ms. McNally. When not writing, she grows Arnold Schwarzenegger weeds in her garden and plots strategic military maneuvers against hostile dust bunnies. You can find more about her on her website, and I did put a link to her website right in the show notes. So feel free to check out her website, sign up for her newsletter, follow her on social media. And without any further delay, you there, Jocie?
I am. Thank you for such a great introduction.
So
Makes me sound so special.
You are. We miss you on the podcast.
Thank you.
How have you been? You have a new book called Let Sleeping Dogs Lie. You want to tell everybody why they should go grab a copy?
Absolutely. It's a new book, and the concept actually came to me, as you said in the intro, a librarian. And one of our patrons that used to come in, she raised puppies for Guiding Eyes for the Blind. And, we all had to be trained how to approach the dog, not the children, mind you, but the adults. And one thing I learned from her was that these service dogs, regardless of what service the human needs from them, much like military canines, have a very short service life, anywhere from 7 to 10 years, which is still long. But if they're in a situation such as leading a blind person through something, say New York City or Chicago, because it's so stressful, their lifetime usefulness as an assistance dog is greatly shortened. So I thought, we make canine dogs, so to speak, to go in and sniff bombs, to rescue people, etc., as helpers for first responders, for the military. Why can't we use one of those dogs to be an assistant dog? And that way, there's no taking them out to the potty at 3 a.m., no feeding, no bath, no allergies from fur. And with a small little plug-in, they can be recharged. And with a tweak of their algorithms, they can be, programmed to meet multiple needs. So Pip was born.
So Pip is the cyber sidekick. Does that mean that Hope is blind, or?
No, it actually doesn't. She is the daughter of a detective, and her father was killed in the line of duty. And while she witnessed the murder, she did not see who committed it. And him and her were quite close. And she was actually studying criminal justice at the University of Cincinnati, was going to follow in his footsteps, become a detective. And that pretty much ended her desire to do that. So she switched majors, basically became a recluse, shut everyone out of her life, and worked as a software programmer at a remote job at home until an employer that she worked for said, you have to go to this conference, part of your job. So reluctantly she went, and an old classmate from the university was murdered at this conference. And a group of bullies were bullying this little cyber dog. And
mean.
Girl after my own heart is like, oh, I hate bullies. So she rescued him, and this dog followed her home. And therein, he tries to help her solve the murder, but he also has a mysterious AI handler that's kind of in the background
Mhm.
and almost becomes at certain levels Hope's surrogate mom because she never knew her mom. And so the story goes from there as these two try to solve the murder. And she's thinks this AI is probably a hacker, so she's trying to, understand this. And it's more, I think, more funny than serious because, this voice appears through the dog, or it appears the dog himself does not speak, but the AI handler sometimes speaks through it, or her car radio, or her laptop.
Wow, really?
And she's like, "Can you just chain the stoplight for me?" Like,
Oh my gosh.
uh,
When you were writing this, did you do a whole bunch of research into what cyber, how it all works?
unfortunately, I did, and I'm quite dangerous now. And the fact that I know about a thimbleful of what I've read, I didn't do intensive research, but I wanted it to be enough that the reader, especially those who are involved in, cybersecurity or technology, thought I had a grasp on what I was writing. But I'm never going to be a white hat hacker. Let's put it that way. I get into my accounts online, and I'm happy with that. So
Right, right. Yes. Sometimes not knowing is better.
sometimes it is. Ignorance can truly be bliss.
Yes, yes, it can, especially when it comes to AI. Yikes. Um, so Hope and Pip are a series, right? How many books are there going to be? Do you know?
I don't know. The first one was very well received. It was released in September of last year. The one I'm currently working on will be finished at the end of April, and I'm hoping for, a May release sometime in May, hopefully for the beach reading season.
Yeah.
Um, and then I don't know from there. I think it depends on, because I don't know how this one's going to end yet. So I think it depends on how this one ends.
Yeah. So I take it you're a pantser then, right? If you don't know how it ends.
I Both. I think it depends on what I'm writing. I write a lot of articles and nonfiction. So on those, I'm outlined, I'm structured. I'm like the goddess of the Oxford comma. But when it comes to my fiction works, it kind of leans more toward being a pantser. Yes. I'll
Mhm.
get the whole story written and then I'm like, well, who was the murderer? And I've really quit that. I figured that out now first. But for a while, it would come up at the end of the book.
Oh my God. Well, I'm a discovery writer as well. Because I think it depends on how your brain's wired about how you show up, because I've tried plotting and then I don't finish. Because in my brain it's like we already know how it turned out. So why are we writing a book report about it, So I
Right.
quickly figured out for me to force myself back to the keyboard, my reason has to be what's going to happen next, and so I think everybody's different, but it is a wild writing process, especially since you're a plotter if it's nonfiction and and you're
Oh,
fine.
it is. And they're two completely different worlds. And I like that. I have to use that term now, a discovery writer. That sounds so elegant.
Right, right. Yeah. It sounds better than by the seat of your pants.
And, in the real world, through the years, I've done writing as far as advertising, tech manuals, things like that. So switching from one person writer to another type of writer sometimes can be difficult. I
Yeah,
find, I get into fiction and all of a sudden it becomes fact and formatted. And I'm like, no.
yeah.
I'm hoping the reader assumes the curtains are blue because I didn't tell them.
Right, right. Well, and I think too, it goes back to point of view. Like when I teach writing classes and there's ever like a journalist or a lawyer or anyone from law enforcement in there, it's like getting that shift that you're God. It doesn't have to be fact. If you lay the groundwork that this is the rule, then that becomes the rule. And so if you write a lot of nonfiction where you have to fact check and all that, sometimes I think it must be hard to turn that off.
It absolutely is, except in this series, I fact check quite a few things. And I've actually started a little thing on Facebook, on my Facebook page, that is Jocie McKade's weekly rabbit hole. And basically it's things that I've searched that you would know. It's like last week, my first one. There's a point plot in here. How do I say this? That uses KY jelly. And I had no idea that they had a silicone based KY jelly. So I'm looking this up. Do they? Does this work in hot dog? They do. I'm not sure where I'll ever use that in real life, and I'm not sure I'd want to know, but I know it now. On Jeopardy, I can answer that question.
Right. I love that. It's so funny what writers end up researching. It's like when you die, you're going out going, clear my browser history.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the three-letter agencies would look at that and have no idea which dark room to put me in. They really wouldn't.
Well, when you were writing Let Sleeping Dogs Lie, was there a scene in it that's not too spoilery that was like your favorite, where when you went through edits, you're like, oh my gosh, the whole book was worth this for this scene?
Probably. She goes to an ex-boyfriend, almost fiance. And he works he owns a salvage yard towing facility, but his educational background is as a chemical engineer. So there's a stain that she sees on this electronic dog, on this robotic dog, and she has to go to him to figure out what it is. And when he opens the bag, because she's trying to, as her dad would do, don't touch it, don't contaminate evidence, that kind of stuff. So she stuffs it in the only thing in her car, which is a donut bag, because she loves donuts. And he opens the bag and white powder flows out, and he goes, I really hope to God that's sugar. And I'm sitting there going, that would so be me.
Oh my goodness. Well, since you're a discovery writer, did you have mysteries always seem to have red herrings and twists? Were there things that surprised you? What was your biggest surprise writing it?
Gosh, there were a lot, because with this one, I worked very hard to plant more clues that, I've grown as a writer after doing 20 books, and you learn some nuances. And I think after doing it, going back and then going, I need to put this here, I need to put that there to help the reader have this experience. And honestly, I think who came out as the killer surprised me.
Okay.
It absolutely surprised me, because who I had determined that it was going to be at the beginning of the book is not who it turned out to be at the end. And the causality of this murderer was completely different from what I thought it was going to be.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
There's the discovery writer in me.
Right. Yeah. Well, are all your books mystery? Is mystery where your heart is? Is that your favorite?
I love mystery. I'm a big thriller reader, though, oddly. But my first series was romantic comedy, because romance should be fun to me. And a lot of the romance writers, they're tremendously gifted writers, but I always wanted a little extra humor in them versus such seriousness. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I started writing, because my mind works really weird. Because we were actually RVing. We have a little fifth wheel, and it was many years ago. We were in Wyoming, and I was looking out and saw some, cowboy guys herding cows and that kind of stuff. And I thought, I wonder what would happen if a goth backup singer was dumped in a small town in Wyoming with these cowboys. And there the story was born. Oh. And so basically they're very different, and which causes conflict and humor. But as with most people inside, we're the same. I mean, we want to be happy. We want to be healthy. We want our kids to be happy and healthy. We want to find our soulmate, whoever we perceive that to be. And I think that's kind of the point of doing those, that, hey, we're vastly different, but inside we still have the same Oreo stuffing.
Right. Yeah. My favorite part of the romance as a genre is that when you dig deep down, everybody just wants to be someone's favorite person. You yes. Want to have know who your found family is, who will have your back no matter what, and
absolutely.
There's even like alien romances, and it's always that core that core want of knowing that, we matter to somebody. And I think romance does a really good job of showing that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I love romance as well. I don't write serious romance well. I read it well, but that doesn't mean I write it well. And it's
Well,
a happily ever after,
yeah,
we
yeah.
want our happy ending.
For,
And I was at an RWA a number of years ago, and I had the privilege of meeting a whole table full of thriller writers, the James Rollins, Andrew Peterson, of the world, Brad Parks. And they were shocked when I told them that they were all, in essence, romance writers, even though they wrote thrillers, and they were a little aghast at that. And I went, every one of you has a relationship with someone in there. Every one of you calls on them to help you get through an emotional pause in your life. And half of you have them riding off into the sunset like John Wayne with the girl, or whoever your partner is. And they went, oh, crap. And I was thinking, in essence, you may shoot people, but you all write romance.
yeah. Well, I at the RT book review conferences, I miss those too.
I do too. Those were fun.
Yeah, but Dean Koontz was at one of them, and he is, of course, lifetime thriller horror writer, and
Right.
had a panel, and that particular hotel was having all kinds of issues. And anyway, during his panel, there were a whole bunch of fire alarms. And so more and more people kept leaving. Anyway, that was my story of how I got to be BFFs with Dean Koontz, because I kept thinking that his people weren't dragging him out of the room. He had two security people and they weren't dragging him out. So I just thought, if they're not going to let Dean Koontz burn up. So if this is real, they would be getting him out. So I just kept moving up closer. So anyway, I got to hug Dean Koontz and we had a great time, got pictures. But he surprised me because he said that in the 80s, he wrote under a pen name and wrote a bunch of Gothic romances. He said he was starving author, and he credited that to be what really gave him the foundation for his career as a writer. He said, because every story, the relationships are what matters. And he said that writing Gothic romances really taught him, how to make the relationships real. And I thought that was really cool. I had no idea.
I did too. And a lot of writers have gone on to other, like Tess Gerritsen. She started out writing for, I believe, Harlequin. And as she said, it taught her how to write and write character well.
Right.
And and even J.R. Ward, well, hers are still rather romance, but she started out, again, many years ago under a pen name, writing, under different Harlequin brands.
Right.
And she's, a fabulous writer. And it's definitely, you can see the progression of the writing. And I think that's, quite fascinating. And I hope they never stop writing romances. I mean, it would be a pretty sad world without romance.
Right. Well, and it sounds like in Sleeping Dogs Lie, since she has to go to her ex for help, is there a romance subplot there in that series?
There is a little bit. It's very tenuous and very prickly because, basically it comes down to, after her father was murdered in the line of duty, she became a recluse and she had no other family. So instead of her getting help or having a friend that she trusted enough at that point to get her help, she just pulled into herself and basically shut everyone out. And I think at times of grief, a lot of us tend to do that, whether it's this extreme or not, we still tend to pull into themselves. So it's going to take her some toddler steps to come back out into this romance, but it's there.
Okay. Well,
And he understands and is very patient because she's doing some investigating into this murder. It's driving him crazy. So
I'm all for pining. I think that's good.
there you go.
Jane Austen taught us how to do that.
That's true. Absolutely.
You also have another mystery series that I'm very intrigued by because I love all the woo-woo, and you have one that's called Mystery in the Leaves, the Tessomancy series, and she reads tea leaves and solves mysteries. Am I understanding that right?
Yes, this was I kind of did this as a quirk. I love tea. I'm a big tea drinker. I've been neighbors. I live out in the boonies, but one of my neighbors for many years, she's a master herbalist, taught me a lot about teas. I'm the person that would call and go, "Hey, if I mix these together, will I kill my family?" Kind of. And so she was my
Oh,
reference point. Yeah. And I grow a lot. I have a little farm, so I grow a lot of, like lemon balm and thyme and things. Um, so I thought, what would it be if, she solved murders? But in her case, her name is Lily Cunningham. She drives a mobile tea truck, the Aquarius Moon. But what she has solved to this point in two short stories are what I call bloodless murders. They're things that happen, but there's not a dead body. No one is killed, but there's a mystery that the tea leaves help solve,
oh,
such as vandalism or, somebody leaving notes, or terrorist kind of things. And she helps, an FBI agent that happens into town, and she helps a couple that probably would never have met each other. He works in demolition of buildings that need to come down, and she's the historical um, architect that tries to save buildings. In the meantime, someone is sabotaging his work sites. And so the tea leaf reader, because each one of them at some point has stopped by her mobile truck, she reads their tea leaves and helps them find what to look for in solving this. And in essence, then brings them together. So say there again.
oh, okay.
Um, but I have been asked by several readers, to give Lily's backstory because there's a few points in the book that you're not quite sure about Lily and what she's done and where she's from because she wears dog tags that no one sees.
Oh,
And so you're not sure if she's military, someone in her family, etc. And so I think in the next one there will be an actual murder and she will be revealed a little more.
oh, I love it. I love it. Have you ever had your tea leaves read, or do you read tea leaves?
I don't read them. I've had them read a couple of times. One by a friend who was actually a reader at a Renaissance fair.
Oh,
I worked there in an office through one summer and met a lot of very interesting people. And one of the ladies there read my tea leaves, and she was completely inaccurate, which was okay. But I had another reader in a small town that I'm close to that's, how do I say this? A very progressive town, and they have a readers there. And now she was spot on.
wow.
Yeah, she did well. But both of them have made me drink. Was it Turkish tea? Because
Mm,
it leaves the best leaves, but it
oh,
is far from being the best tasting tea I've ever had.
I love
It's
that.
kind of like you want to swallow it in one swallow and set it down, and perhaps that affects the leaves.
Yeah, maybe so. That was what I was going to say is maybe that first reader, maybe you were drinking the wrong tea?
That could be,
Yeah.
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 And there are actual little cups you can buy that, the dregs are left in, and you can see what part of this cup that they're left in, and that's supposed to help you read those leaves and make an accurate prediction.
Hmm.
Oddly, when I researched, because I did research for this one in Victorian America and Victorian England, but it, came across the ocean to us. That was quite the parlor game. You did didn't
Oh,
play Scrabble or charades. You played Let's Read the Tea Leaves after dinner in the parlor.
wow. Wow.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what are you working on next? You mentioned that you're writing another book of that, but you've got a few series going, so
I do. I pretty much ended the Three Bears, which was the romantic comedy. It kind of, played its point. Um, and I even had a Christmas book along with it, which was fun. There was an escapee from an old folks' home. This one, the second book in Hope and Peace, and it's a cozy cyber mystery. I'm like, I think I might have invented a genre. It will be out probably toward the end of May, so for the summer reading crowd. And then
And what's the name of that one? So people
I
can.
don't know yet.
Oh,
I've
we're
gone through
I-
very
oh,
variation of names. I think it was Murder Takes a Bite, BYTE, out of crime is the one that's
oh,
been
cute.
really yeah, suggested most often. I have some readers who are beta readers and so forth, and they give me quite good suggestions.
Nice.
So I'm not sure if that'll end up being the final, but we hope so.
But keep your eye out.
Yes, yes. And it'll, of course, be on my Facebook page and my web page and that sort of thing. Usually when it comes out, I'm offering up the first chapter and some, free reads of the first book or reduced price just to get, hopefully readers will be interested and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, that kind of dovetails into how do people find you after they read your book and they're super excited? You mentioned Facebook. Are you everywhere? Should they go to Facebook, your newsletter?
Mostly I'm on Facebook. I have an author page and then I do have a readers page, which you have to request to be on because I have a web page. I am on Instagram and Pinterest. I'm not on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. And Instagram, I'm not on there a lot. It's actually a very late comer to it, so it's kind of a learning curve for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I've just found out I can switch stuff over from Facebook to there. So hopefully it'll be
Uh, it'll be more.
more active there. Thank you. And but mostly I'm on Facebook and in my newsletter. And I send the newsletter out maybe once, sometimes twice a month. I mean, a Spielberg cause, y'all will get a letter in there, but and otherwise I don't want to burden people with too many newsletters and too much of seeing me.
Right. Well, speaking of seeing you, do you go to any conferences? How can people meet up with you or book signings? Do you have anything?
I was scheduled to go to RAGT this year, Lori Foster. I think Jane Porter has now taken that over. It's in Cincinnati. But due to some family medical issues, I won't be able to attend it. This year, the only one I have in the queue right now is a library one up in Northern Ohio. I live in Ohio, so that one's kind of a day trip for me.
Oh,
And it's put on by the LaGrange Library. And actually, my friend who is also an author, Wendy Zwadek, is the one that's doing all the behind the scenes programming and work on it.
oh, fun. Okay. And that's in the fall, did you say?
You asked me too quick. June. It's
Oh,
in June.
oh, coming up. It's coming up.
Hey, summer road trip there. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. So anybody who is in Ohio, definitely check out Jocie's Facebook page so that you can go meet her in person. Fun.
Yeah. And I put that up a couple of times, and I will also probably beginning in April's newsletter, put it in there. Because I know it does take a little time to make arrangements if people do want to come.
Right.
And actually, I believe it's free for the readers.
Oh, yay. And how many
Yeah.
authors are going to be there? Do you know?
At last count, I think she said somewhere around 20, 25.
Oh my
But don't
God.
quote me. I could be completely wrong. But I think so.
Book lovers, you got to go. Well, thank you so much for being here today. It was so much fun chatting with you. Is there
Thank you.
anything that you have that we didn't touch on? Because I also wrote down the Mason-Dixon mysteries. Are those still going on, or is that series done?
No, they're still going on as well. That was probably my first real cozy mystery series. And it was based on the fact I have to laugh. My family's token Yankee because most all of my family is from the southern United States. And my mother used to tease me as a child. I could go from y'all to you guys in one sentence, which, you travel back and forth so much, you pick up the lingo of both sides. So this is two girls who were actually they're twins, but they were separated at birth, as the reader will find out as the story goes, by their parents. One is from a small town in Alabama near Talladega, and the other one is from Boston. And basically, I've made them quite stereotypical of both regions, and they butt heads quite well. But they join up to find out what really happened to their parents. And the person who was able to tell them this is assassinated right in front of them.
Oh.
And how it doesn't sound funny at this point, it really is when you're dealing with the fried pickles and clam chowder. And so the story evolves. They get a beach house that was coincidentally provided by their parents. And they're it's not true WITSEC that is provided by the U.S. Marshals, but this is like a presidential secret WITSEC program that they've been thrown into courtesy of their parents' who are both deceased, and they've both been assassinated basically for some things they knew. So while they're there, they meet up with a too inquisitive FBI agent, and he's pretty sexy, and a guy named Fender, just Fender. And they're not after the car, after the guitar. And then they find out, because he's living in a little caretaker's house, that he's actually there to be their protection. And but they're walking down the beach, it's set in Virginia Beach, and a dead body washes up on Emmy Mason. So there starts their investigation into murders.
Oh my gosh, those cozy mysteries, how they happen across all the time.
Yeah, a funny story. I mean, I've been traditionally published and indie published, and traditional publishers wouldn't touch this because they said, it's not a cozy mystery. You have 3 dead bodies. This is the thriller. And I went, oh, I haven't had a body count. But apparently in traditional publishing, there's a body count. So.
Oh, who knew?
Who knew? No, I published them myself. So.
But I believe that there are like 5 books in that series, right? So people who like to read can just read through all those, and
they can all stand alone. Just reading in order gives you a little background into the characters, but they can all be read as standalones.
Okay, great. Well, everyone, go check out Jocie's new book, Let Sleeping Dogs Lie. It's available. That one's in KDP, right? So it's just on Amazon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's on Amazon. Go check that out, and definitely click the link in the show notes to sign up for her newsletter so that if you're in Ohio, you can go to the big library signing and meet her. And thanks so much for being here. It was so fun chatting with you.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who gives it a listen. And, I just appreciate people reading my stories, and hopefully they get a little escapism for a while.
That's
right. It's pretty chaotic.
Yes, the world's chaotic. We need that escape. Thanks so much for being here, Jocie.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Thanks for joining us on Booklights. Be sure to connect with us at www.readersentertainment.com for articles, blogs, videos, and podcasts that matter to readers.